Good evening and welcome to Two-A-Day on your Packer Link-Up. Today is Wednesday, August 27th, and you're watching the 10 o'clock edition. Well, rundown of the final preseason game against the Tennessee Titans. Just some generals, courtesy of the dope sheet on Packers.com. Tennessee is 2-1, playing at Green Bay, 1-2 after the big win against the Denver Broncos. Game to be played at 6 p.m. Central Time. And the Packers dealing with a team that they played more than I ever thought possible. This will be the 7th consecutive season that the Packers and the Titans have met in the final exhibition game. I did not know it was that long, but they will be playing this series that has been going on for quite some time now. So the Packers playing their 4th game in 18 days. Of course, that's that kind of crazy preseason schedule I mentioned earlier, and it will be this, and it will be, of course, what I didn't mention earlier is that what that will do is give the Packers 10 days of rest before the Vikings game. So that I neglected to mention in the earlier podcast, but I do want to mention it now. This disjointed schedule and the difficulty McCarthy had trying to organize and get everything figured out with the schedule as it was. One thing it does do is give the Packers a lot of much-needed rest before that Vikings game and prep time possibly, especially with perhaps some key starters out for that game. So the Titans come to Green Bay after recording their first preseason loss against the Atlanta Falcons. They had beaten St. Louis and Oakland before that, and this is going to be kind of the same old the last couple seasons. Coach McCarthy has played, as most teams do, the starters for a short period of time, and Jeff Fisher is going to play his starters into the third quarter. I caught up with an interview of Jeff Fisher on this topic, found out why he does it. And the reason is he wants to have his players go through the halftime adjustments and the coming back out on the field and installing those adjustments back on the field again. So he says you don't get, by playing players for one half, other players for another half, you don't get any continuity, and you don't get that sense of making corrections and implementing corrections. So that's the reason Jeff Fisher will have his starters out on the field longer than the Packers. Some notable connections. This, of course, goes back to the time when the Tennessee Titans were the Houston Oilers. Packers general manager Ted Thompson played linebacker for the Oilers at the time. Played there for 10 years, from 75 to 84, and he was, I believe, a third stringer, but he did hold off and stay on the team for 10 years. Also, of course, we know the Packers have some administrative people. Mike Reinfeldt spent 8 years at the Packers organization as the chief financial officer and vice president of administration. So he was the guy you may remember. I believe he was in the news when the search for a president came about. Many people were mentioning Reinfeldt for that. Of course, it didn't happen. Mike Murphy is now our president. The last meeting in the regular season, the Packers versus the Titans, you may recall, was pumped up as Iron Man versus Iron Man. Brett Favre against Steve McNair when he was still playing for the Titans, and that game, how awful it was with the Titans winning, beating us at Lambeau, the worst defeat ever at Lambeau Field, 48-27, Tennessee Titans. Now to turn to some news from the Tennessee Titans side of things. I did mention that Jeff Fisher explained why he's going to be playing his starters into the third quarter, but also to mention, even though the Titans are going to be playing their starters a long time, part of the reason for that is that they have struggled offensively at times. They did have some penalties. I think Coach Fisher is wanting to clean some things up, and he mentioned just having none of the stupid penalties happen is one of his goals for this game. But you may be interested in knowing The Titans rank third overall in the NFL in offense through this first preseason games. Of course, they don't mean anything. The score doesn't mean anything, but you do have to look at an offense that is dangerous. Titans are averaging 359.3 yards per game. That's 185 yards rushing and 174.2 passing. And that's behind Seattle and New Orleans at this time. The Titans kind of flip-flop from what the Packers do. They have played their starters much more sparingly early on, and now, of course, as the season rolls around, are going to give them that full continuity into the third quarter tomorrow. So, quarterback Vince Young has said the team goals this week include eliminating penalties, cleaning up certain things offensively, making plays, and moving the ball downfield. However, he won't force the issue just to make a point that they can move the ball. So that pretty much wraps it up for a preview of the Packers-Titans game. I have gone over more than I initially planned, so we'll see what the news is tomorrow and come back to you tomorrow at 5. A couple other news notes from around the NFL. You may be interested to know Sean Merriman has decided finally to forego surgery and play through the pain during this season for the Chargers. And Peyton Manning has had no setbacks in a couple consecutive practices with the Colts. Peyton was the quarterback that was in the undisclosed location trying to heal after knee surgery. So with that said, we will call it a day and hope to see you back here tomorrow at 5. And until then, go Pack.